Hello, dear friends. Good evening from Jerusalem and good morning, afternoon to our guests in the United States. And good evening to others who are in the Middle East or Europe. My name is Alex Selsky. I'm again replacing Ashley Perry because he's still, as I told you, is recovering after his surgery and he cannot talk well, so this is again I'm doing the Israel Insider, but we really wish him health and hope that next week he will be able to speak. So today we will speak about five major things that I prepared for you that happened and happen and are happening in Israel, which I think the major and the most significant ones. And the first and foremost is Iran. Today we all saw during the last few hours that more and more titles and headlines about that the American attack in Iran and more probably to happen sooner than later. Nobody knows when, nobody knows how, nobody really knows the details, but I think that everybody pays attention to the pressure that is put on Iran. And I truly believe, as many, that this is the time to attack Iranian regime, because I think what makes clear what was clear before. Now we see what everybody, I hope and believe, saw months ago and weeks ago and years ago, that Iranian regime was lying, and that Iranian regime is lying, and that Iranian regime will be lying, and there is no possibility to negotiate with them, because no way that they will keep the agreement. And the only way to handle this regime is to attack it in order to replace it. I think that this is clear to most of the reasonable people that want really to get rid of the real occupation of the Middle East, the occupation of the Iranian regime. And again, I think that today more than before, it seems to be possible. We see that America gathers more and more weapons, more and more um, carriers, and other carriers on the way, and more planes and more technology. So definitely it looks like much more chances that it happens, because again, as what we expected happens, that no way the negotiations can succeed, because the minimum of one side doesn't meet the maximum of the other. So this is the first, and definitely I think the major thing that happens. And in Israel, everybody is waiting, everybody is in attention. I can tell you, as a citizen, as an Israeli, as an officer, reserve officer of the Home Front Command, we are ready. We are ready. The second thing that I think is important to mention, that on Sunday, the government of Israel made an historic a decision, which I will not go to details, but I will, to give you the general idea. The reform in the structure, the legal structure of buying land in Judea and Samaria, and this will end two historic problems. First, for the government to control over what is called the Territory C. I will remind you that by Oslo Accords, the Palestinian Authority, all the territory of the Palestinian Authority is divided to three types: A, B, and C. A is full control of the Palestinian Authority, the civil and the security. B is security controlled of Israel and civil control of the Palestinian Authority. And C, which is the majority, about 60% of the Palestinian Authority of Judea and Samaria, should have been under the control of Israel. This includes the Jordan Valley. This includes the Ma'ale Adumim Valley, the way to the Dead Sea, the north of the Dead Sea, and many other parts. I want to remind you that the full majority of the Palestinians live within 8 cities, which territorially are no more than 20% of the whole territory of Judea and Samaria and Palestinian Authority. And this is the A. And the B, where not so many Palestinians live, primarily, these are not cities, these are primarily the villages. This is the B, and 60% are the C, where almost there are no Palestinians. And what the Palestinian Authority have done for many, many years since the Oslo Accords, they not, as was agreed in Oslo Accord, by force, um, with not so small international support from some of our European friends, and sometimes even with their support, legal support, um, and budgetary support, they just conquered, occupied. You cannot say any other term, the sea territory. And this reform that the government just uh, decided on, first of all, will ease the Israeli government control over the sea, and second, it will provide easier, less bureaucratic procedure of pursuing lands for private owners in Judea and Samaria, almost as it should be and as it is within, the Green Line within Israel, which will definitely promote the more and more lands that would be bought by Jews within Judea and Samaria. This is the second thing that I wanted to say. And again, this is historic reform. By the way, it's promoted by 3 major ministers in the government representing Likud, the Minister of Defense Israel Katz, the Minister of of um, uh, of Justice Yariv Levin, and the Minister of Finance, who also has, by the government coalition agreement, authority within the Ministry of Defense handling this reform in Judea and Samaria. And this is Bezalel Smotrich, the head of Zionist religious party. So this is the second thing that I wanted to tell you. The next thing that I think is also very important to speak about this week is the continuation of the tension. We spoke about the tension in the opposition, between the opposition. We spoke about it last time, and I think we spoke about it 2 weeks ago. But this week it reached its peak in a way that Yair Lapid, and I listened to him today, this morning, in another very long interview in one of the major Israeli radio stations, and one of the most popular shows on the radio, spoke about the fact. He said, listen, if you come to vote and you support the opposition, please pay attention that you don't vote to the parties that might sit with Netanyahu, and that and he speaks about 2 parties, Bennett and Eisenkot, and he attacks them for a reason. First of all, Eisenkot almost every week or 2 adds another mandate in the polls. He's already in some polls on 11, right, bypassing Lieberman and bypassing Yair Golan, which is a major success. And Eisenkot, in a way, told in interviews that when he was asked if he might sit with Netanyahu, under Netanyahu, in the next coalition, he said, listen, I don't deal with it now. Now it's time to win. But what we hear, that he didn't deny the possibility of sitting under Netanyahu's leadership in the next government. And again, and Bennett, who said, in his voice again, as he did, a few years ago, that he will not sit with Netanyahu, Lapid, fights him and tries to show that you cannot trust him. Anyway, we see in a way that the opposition is divided, not united, and it doesn't seem as a united bloc that can win the next elections unless things will change. And by the way, pay attention that it happens very, very long before the elections. Why they do that now? It only shows for me that it will be even more tension in the future. Two other things that I wanted to mention. One is a very important incident that happened in Israel a few days ago that was very traumatic for many Israelis. Is that two soldier girls being on duty in Bnei Brak. Bnei Brak is a ultra-Orthodox city next to Tel Aviv, right next to Tel Aviv, within what we call the greater Tel Aviv area or Dan area. And they were there just hand out flyers, and they were attacked by extreme ultra Orthodox minority community, and they were attacked in a way that they had to hide, call police, and the police had to come and rescue them from Bnei Brak, like next to Tel Aviv. And when police took them and put them into the police car, this mob just came into the car and turned it over with the policemen and the soldiers in it, which was definitely um, uh, it, I think everybody in Israel saw that and was so. I mean, every Zionist, and I think that majority. I want to believe that majority, or at least big part of the ultra Orthodox community, understood that it's too much, and we saw the leadership, and that's the important thing in that the leadership of the ultra Orthodox community condemned this incident. But this is the same leadership that only 2-3 months ago, for example, the chief Sephardic rabbi Yosef, only 2 months he said, that we will not send our boys to the army, and if the army police will come, so takumu aleh, like stand in front of them, meaning what? Meaning fight them, right? So now when some teenagers, extreme, but they listened to him and literally did what he told. So now he understood that maybe he gone too far, and he said that that he condemns it, and many other ultra Orthodox rabbis condemned it. But the fact that many people were very angry on that, I think in a way it crossed the line, and this is within the continuation of the tension over the draft law. And the last thing that I wanted to touch today is that I don't think we touched it. Maybe Ashley spoke about it before, but the demand, um, the demand and the orders from all over the world, from many countries around the world, in Europe and Asia, to buy technology from Israeli security industry, from three major companies, Rafael, Elbit, and the Israeli aircraft industries, are on its historic record high in its peak, and the record is broken every month again and again, and the demand is extremely high, and they have orders for years to come. And we see the huge success of Israeli security industries, again, Elbit, Rafael, and the aerospace industries, and it shows huge success of Israel in the security field. And I think that the last 2 years showed how Israel is good in its technology, and again we spoke about the overall economy that is very strong, and the shekel that is very strong. Well, it's not only the the shekel strong, but also dollar is weak. But it's definitely something that I wanted to touch. And if you want to know more, you definitely are invited to Google and look for this information. This is all for me at this point, and that was my 15 minutes. And now, please let me let me see your questions and remarks. I already see many. Let me please open this. Okay, so Burak Kormaz, do you think Israel will hit Iran by itself, or will there be a coalition that includes the US and some Sunni states without boots on the ground? Do you think regime change is possible? That's a very good question. And I think, as I told you in the very beginning, I don't know. And something is cooking. What it will be, how it will look like. I think that it's clear that Israel in some way will be involved. Definitely, if Iran will attack Israel, Israel will not, sit in peace. But Israel is part of this war and fight, definitely. And the Sunnis, I'm sure that they are, with all their double games. I think that, under, you know, deep in their heart, I'm sure that the Sunni countries know who is their partner and who is their enemy. And I think they understand more and more that we are the partners, and we are on the right side and not the Iranian regime. And again, I don't think that Saudis need explanation, or the Emiratis or Bahrainis, who might suffer even more than any others from Iran. Now, I will go. Uh, Carrie Hillel Brand, what is your assessment for when or if war with Iran will begin? Well, as I told, I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows, and I will, you know, uh, I will quote Trump from long ago. Once he said, nobody knows what I will decide. Even I don't know what I will decide. I do think that he made decision, but I really don't know what and when it will happen. But again, if you just open the news today, you understand that the chances for that are higher than they were just a couple of days ago. I see questions of people that don't put their name, so I'll prefer those who put their name. Jose, right? Montero or Jose Montero, buying land or taking over? Haha, thank you for that question. What happened if the legitimate owners doesn't want to sell? This is against any international law and agreement. Is not. Oh, Jose, thank you for your question. Well, I want to answer you in two ways. First of all, Israel does everything legal. And if you learn the history of the state of Israel, the first land that Israel put the settlements of the Zionist movement in the end of the 19th century, the first land was bought, not taken, not occupied, bought. The only reason to expand that and occupy was the attacks of our neighbors. After the Peel Committee and the partition plan in 48, when Israel said yes to the small land that they received, and Arabs said no and attacked Israel. So all the all the blame goes to our enemies that attacked us and lost, and now they cry, okay? And then they again attacked us in 67 and lost, and then they again attacked us in 73 and lost. So this is one. And second, Judea and Samaria is our historic land. Our historic land. And by your name, I understand that you're Christian. So if you're Christian, please open the most sacred book for Christianity called the Bible and read it, and come back and tell me how many years we were here before Islam was even invented. Having said that, we do everything by this by justice. And believe me, if you check how the countries that you live in and travel to became who they are, they did that in occupation, in taking control without any justice. So please stop this double standard of speaking to us like we don't have the right to have our own country in our own homeland. We do. Okay, Shmuel Wockenfeld. Is the Iron Beam, Eitan, or really operational? If so, whoa. It jumped. The question was about the really operational. If so, it would seem that Israel is really impregnable. Yes, well, the Iron Beam is working, not fully operational yet. It has its limitation, but it's definitely very outstanding and a very successful weapon. And when it will be operational, which should be very, very soon, we definitely will be much more secure. And I think that, so far, or our defense system has unprecedented success of intercepting more than 90% of all the rockets. And with the Iron Beam, I think we will reach close to 100. So yes. Andy Palek. Sorry, guys, if I somehow misspell your names, because some of the names, my English is not native. So if I misspell it, believe me, I didn't do that because, with intention, I really tried. You don't know how many misspell my name in Hebrew. There has been speculation that Israel will take the lead in an Iran attack. Do you see any signal that this is possible? Well, we already spoke about it. I don't know. Israel already did that. I think that this time it looks like the Americans will lead. I really don't know. And again, I even don't know if the attack will happen. We saw already Trump promising and then nothing happened. All I say is that the chances that the attack will take place today are higher than just a couple of days ago, because we finally see what we knew before, that Iranian regime will never give up on his nuclear program, missiles, and proxies, and they lied, and they lie, and they will lie, and they will not keep agreements. They never kept agreements. So the only way to deal with them, in my opinion, and I represent many others, is by force. They don't know to manage it well in good terms, in good negotiations. And they are the biggest problem in the Middle East, and maybe even in the whole world, because they are the evil terror state, the occupier of the biggest occupier in the Middle East. It's funny. Last time I said that, and our Chris, my colleague, put this on Facebook of the Middle East, and it had huge success among the apparently Iranian bots and Nigerian bots that they sent. And I read some of the comments, and it was just funny. Some said, did Iran really ever bomb its neighbors? No, come on, no, they they didn't bomb Saudi. No, never. They didn't conquer Yemen. They didn't conquer Libya. Lebanon. They didn't conquer Iraq. They didn't conquer a Palestinian Authority. They didn't conquer the Syrian. No, and they definitely didn't bomb Israel. Never. They are so peaceful. Come on, like, how dare you even to write this nonsense, okay? And you really believe that somebody will believe? People are not as stupid as you think they are. Okay, let's go back to the questions. And Barbara, but first of all, Barbara, I have to tell Barbara Rambowitz that always has questions. I have questions here by someone who puts only his, doesn't put his full name, but I see that he asked few times, so I will maybe take some of his comments. Okay, what makes you JL? Okay, he calls himself. What makes you think that the U.S. will actually go through with military action against Iran rather than just bluffing? Again, that's a good question. I just spoke about it twice. I don't know. All I say that we hear messages today more than 2 or 3 or even day ago about the failure of the negotiations, about the fact that Iranians don't go forward with, that their minimum doesn't meet the maximum of Americans, and put it the other way. They don't want to give up anything. So it just looks that they're not serious. And finally, it looks like Americans understand that. So again, if maybe it's again pressure, maybe, but again, I said already a few times, I don't believe that America gathered all these weapons and all these, carriers and so expensive, fleet and and air force just in order to make more pressure on Iran. But again, we'll see. Nobody knows what will happen, but it looks now that chances for operation are much much higher. How is Ashley's health? Sorry for you, but I'm missing him. Okay, first of all, I'm happy that some people worry for Ashley. Ashley is good. He had a surgery and he's good, a very, very important surgery, and he's recovering. I hope, and I'm almost sure that you will hear his voice and see his face next week. I'm happy to know that there are some fans of Ashley here. JL, well put, Alex. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, I see a lot of very supportive comments about the PA and about Iran and about Judea and Samaria and about many other in political issues. Bennett keeps waffling about making common cause with Hamas. And I think that these were the major. Peter Levy, thank you. Oh, Peter, I'm so happy that you are here. I'll see you in DC, right? Thank you, Alex. Hope to see you in May at the conference in DC. I'm waiting to see you, Peter. And great, I'm happy that you are here. I see many others here. Eric, without last name. Eric, the UN Security Council is meeting to condemn Israel's West Bank policy, calling it against international law. Why is it against international law? Again, international law is something that I think people overestimate sometimes. There is no such a, there are treaties and I can, speaking about international law and Judea and Samaria, some will claim that by international law, there is no occupation in Judea and Samaria, with very, very simple argument that proves that. Because Jordan gave up of their control in Judea and Samaria. You cannot occupy something from someone that says that he gives up the control over it. Like if you come and say, listen, can I please have your coffee? And I say, yes, please. And you take it, you didn't occupy, you didn't take by force my coffee. If I gave it if I gave it to you, that would happen between us and Jordan in Judea and Samaria. So occupation of something that never belonged to, to never existing state in Jordan that gave it up. And by the way, and before that, they occupied Judea and Samaria and controlled it only 19 years. So go, please learn history and international law. That's all from me. 10:31 already here in Jerusalem. And thank you very much, you all, for watching and listening. And I'm really glad. And again, next time, I hope Ashley, in good health, will speak to you. And Long live Israel and long live America. Thank you. Goodbye.